Hmm. This reminds me of something a wise woman once said.
Oh my gosh, don't you know I'm a savage?
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of The History of K-pop Season 1, where we take a trip back in time to learn all about the past of the K-pop industry that has been so influential on the present one we know today. By now, you know, this is where we remind you that we had 3 previous episodes about Fin.K.L, and in the last one, we went through the rest of the group's album promotions and their extended resting period. When will researcher Jay and I get our extended resting period? No rest for us. What? Getting back to the topic at hand, today we'll start off by discussing Fin.K.L's reunion with an asterisk, and once we cover the members' conflicts, their fandom, and some funny stories about the group, we'll be concluding our coverage on Fin.K.L. Because that's indeed the last episode on Fin.K.L. But even if this is the last episode on Fin.K.L, it should be quite obvious that we have no time to waste here. At least, we hope that was obvious. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Let's go!
Alright, so the title of this section should explain what this section is all about. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Wait, didn't I just say this? Anyway, so maybe the stars didn't quite line up for Infinite Challenge. But there would be something else coming down the pipe. JTBC's Camping Club was the show that finally brought all the members together after 14 years. That's right, after 14 long years. To put this into context, the last time they appeared on TV together was on the SBS show Yashim Man in January of 2005. When it was confirmed that Fin.K.L would reunite through their new reality show, Camping Club, it became quite a big deal and it surely gained a lot of attention. Remember, Fin.K.L never disbanded. Airing from July 14th to September 29th in 2019, the show featured the members finally gathering after 14 long years of individual promotions and allowed them to travel to 4 different regions of Korea in a camping van. I should note that the Fin.K.L members had previously held private group gatherings before this, as we already mentioned in our previous episodes, but it happened quite rarely during their long resting period due to everyone being busy with their own schedules. And this only got worse as Jin started to live in the US after she got married in 2016. Anyway, the main focus of the show was to see whether the members would be willing to get together on stage as a complete group once again, after 14 long years. Until this point, we've been using question marks.
다시 해볼까?
Until this point, we've been using quotation marks whenever we say the word reunion. And we will do this several more times in this episode. That's because the word reunion, we just did it again, isn't technically accurate here, as the group never disbanded officially. And I don't even know how many times we've said this by now. Therefore, it's more appropriate to say Fin.K.L resumed group activities through or for this show. In the end, the members finally agreed to perform on stage together, which was fortunate news to the longtime fans who waited to see the group reunite after 14 long years. Unfortunately, the concert was ultimately held on a smaller scale, at least compared to the reunion concerts organized through the Infinite Challenge Totoga projects. The size of this concert was determined by the members themselves, and basically, out of approximately 9,500 people who applied to attend Fin.K.L's concert, only 100 lucky fans were selected to attend. 1 divided by 95 is approximately 1%, which makes it sound like these fans got really lucky. So, how did the preparation go for the members? Well, it had been so long since they performed their songs that when they went to record the MR versions, everyone but Joohyun really struggled due to how many high notes were in their songs. I mean, H.O.T went as far as saying, "Why did we say we were going to perform live?" And she later added to that by going through the 3 phases as shown here. This was probably due to it being almost 20 years since their debut, and not having to perform and sing these songs in a very long time. This was the fun point of the preparation stage from the viewer's POV, but it also became a reminder as to how long it had been since Fin.K.L was really active. Oh, and what was also funny from this scene was that H.O.T didn't know what AirPods were.
33마리 하는 거예요.
에어팟 없어요?
네,
이게 뭐예요?
무서운 줄
없는 거 없어요?
But unfortunately, the struggle didn't end with the vocal part, because there was also the choreography part. Initially, things didn't look too good with choreography either, as the members were pretty much lost when they first began practicing. And just like that, the members started to worry whether they could actually perform all their selected songs live. Again, this is probably due to the members not performing these songs in a very long time. But with a lot of practice, the members eventually started to pick up their choreography again. And this luckily happened before the concert. Anyway, during this long-anticipated concert, the group performed some of their most popular older songs, but they also performed a new song called 남아있는 노래처럼. Many fans shed tears after finally seeing their beloved group perform again after 14 long years. And supposedly, the members themselves cried behind the scenes as well. I mean, this was a very touching moment for them too. This is kind of an aside, but my researcher J, says that many SNSD fans, yes, that's all of you so-ons, including myself, can probably relate to how this would feel today when SNSD finally decides to promote together once again. And I personally really hope they do. Hopefully by the time this episode is uploaded, they'll have promoted together once again. Before we dive into this section, keep in mind the question mark in the section title, because this is where things get dramatic. Usually, the term conflict is considered quite sensitive and dangerous in the K-pop industry, as proven in many cases. But Fin.K.L managed to show their further development of friendship through this incident. Now, when did this conflict occur? There was once a TV show called Suta Dakyu, or Star Dakyu, from MBC, and the episode that aired on October 12th, 1998, showcased Fin.K.L members' daily life during their debut album promotion period. Except, this was also the period when there was a number of conflicts between members, and one between H.O.T and Jin was so serious that they apparently were not talking to each other at all. By the way, this is something that was acknowledged by the members as well on other TV shows.
너랑 데뷔하고 나서 처음으로 싸웠잖아. 원래 한 번도 안 싸웠었거든요. 근데 진이랑 저랑 한 번 싸운 적이 있거든요. 근데 참 싸우고 나서 더 친해진 것 같고요. 너도 알겠지만 그때 네가 나한테
Understandably, these conflicts had more to do with the members not knowing each other well enough around the time they debuted. For those of you guys who have watched our last episode, do you guys remember when we took a look at how Fin.K.L members were recruited? In our first Fin.K.L episode, we said that the group had been formed quite quickly at the time, within a year to be exact, and H.O.T only joined a month or so before they debuted. So it's safe to assume that the members barely got the chance to get to know each other beforehand. And given that the point of filming this TV show was only about 5 months after the group had debuted, we would assume that the members hadn't really had much time to get to know each other. And on top of that, the members' personalities were quite different from each other. H.O.T was very extroverted and mischievous, apparently even continuing to go out for drinks or hang out with her male friends after she debuted. On the other hand, Yuri and Jin were said to be devout Christians who likely didn't have any experience with that more outgoing lifestyle. Just to give an example of these differing personalities, when Fin.K.L was at events in the areas outside of Seoul, H.O.T and Joohyun would go out drinking all night, while Yuri and Jin would go to church. This is what you might call polar opposite. We're not saying people with different mindsets or lifestyles can't get along, but these examples illustrate how some conflicts between the members could have come about. However, whenever they did fight, it was almost always resolved on the spot and they did not have any grudges against one another. And we think that's much better than the opposite scenario. This is what helped the members maintain a strong and healthy relationship even to this day. Or at least, not a bad relationship. Another good example of a strong group bond is with Shinhwa, and if you stick around, you might just hear more about that later in the season. Behind every great artist are loyal and devoted supporters, and Fin.K.L is no exception. On April 17th, 1999, Fin.K.L held the official establishment event for their new fan club. Can you guys guess what the official fan club name is? I'll give you 10 seconds to put your guess in the comments down below.
10 seconds later.
Are you all ready? Fin.K.L's fan club's name is Fin.K.L. Well, if you guys must find whom to blame for the name, it was created by none other than DSP Media. Interestingly enough, Fin.K.L members never actually referred to their fans by this name. It does sound kinda cheesy, so I can't say that I blame them. However, and supposedly, the members have apparently used the name more recently, although we couldn't find a record of that. As for the group's color, both their official color and official balloon color was called Pearl Red. But realistically, you can say the balloon was closer to being just red, since balloons with the pearl effect and color were not really common at that time. And this is a nice reminder that we're dealing with history here. But here is a bit of a kicker. Going a little bit into the future, this color caused a clash between the Fin.K.L fandom and the TVXQ fandom, as their official balloon color was also red. Red with no extra description, that is. This isn't the nicest thing to see, but it was interesting how two fan clubs' colors ended up being very, very similar. At this time, girl groups received a lot of jealousy from fans of male groups and often suffered because of it. But Fin.K.L was less affected by this since they had many male fans. And I mean M-A-N-Y. Many. Around 90% of their fan club members were male. So that is really many, and you could definitely hear them chanting as it was loud enough to scare the other group's fans. Which we do not doubt. As with many other first-generation idol groups, many current-day celebrities used to be fans of Fin.K.L back in the day, and probably still now as well. But again, there are just way too many to list them all, as usual. And due to such a reason, we won't list them all, as usual.
패스.
Normally, the episode would have come to an end at this point. But it looks like my researcher, Researcher J, did some extra work to create this section for this episode on Fin.K.L. Good job. According to my researcher, Researcher J's various findings, there's a ton of fun and interesting stories about Fin.K.L. As if they weren't already interesting enough. Well, he has kindly done the research for us, so why don't we take a look at what they're all about?
Let's go!
First one is pretty darn hilarious. On an episode of the TV show Knowing Bros, Joo-hyun revealed a funny incident that Fin.K.L went through, involving Kang Ho-dong. Oh, if you don't know who Kang Ho-dong is, it's this man. So the story goes like this. One day after leaving an event of some sort, the four members and Ho-dong were traveling in a van together. It's an unexpected combo for sure. We couldn't figure out exactly how and why they would be commuting in the same van. Maybe Ho-dong's van broke down or something? Anyway, he was in the front passenger seat, and the Fin.K.L members were sitting in the back seats, with a curtain dividing them. Now, we also have no idea why they had to have a curtain dividing them either. So don't ask us why. During this separate yet together commute, pun totally intended, Ho-dong lit a cigarette in the car, either forgetting or not realizing that the girl group was in the back of the van. To be honest, the latter doesn't really make sense to us because, I mean, if you're in someone else's car, shouldn't you at least be aware of who's in that car? Here is where things took a slightly wrong turn for Ho-dong. Joo-hyun, the main vocalist of the group, particularly hated the smell of cigarettes. And once she realized someone was smoking in the vehicle, she yelled out, "Are you crazy? Put out that cigarette immediately." My attempt at sounding like an angry person. With the voice of the main vocalist of the group. I probably did a horrible job at imitating her, so let Ho-dong's POV demonstrate. And that was more than effective, as this apparently really scared the crap out of Ho-dong, who then quickly put out his cigarette faster than the speed of light.
Run.
In the same episode of Knowing Bros, he later talked about how much this surprised and scared him. to the point that he shed some tears in the car and pretended to sleep. If you know of him, he was not the type of person that you would expect to cry easily. Rather, he'd be the one scaring people. What's quite interesting was that, at this point in time, the Fin.K.L members were relatively new juniors in the entertainment industry, and much younger than Kang Ho-dong. On top of that, Ho-dong was known to be an extremely scary and strict senior member of the entertainment industry at the time. Never mind the fact that he is one of the top MCs in Korea, and that he used to be a top professional Korean traditional wrestler with the type of physique that he has. If that doesn't explain much to you guys, he's the one person whom Kim Jong-kook would be scared of. If you guys didn't know, Kim Jong-kook is a member of Running Man with this physique. But obviously, this didn't stop Joo-hyun from making her statement. Albeit, she probably didn't know her target. And just as an FYI, Kang Ho-dong is now perceived as a much gentler person than before, as evident not just in this episode with Joo-hyun, but also in whichever TV shows he's been filming in modern days, including Knowing Bros. But long story short, don't get on the bad side of Fin.K.L. Before we get to another big fun story, there are some other fun little tidbits. First one is that Jin and Yuri were actually cast in the same drama once, called 출생의 비밀. We just thought this was interesting since this is a very rare case in any drama, except for cameo appearances. And this next one is... Alright, we all know what Instagram is, right? Since Fin.K.L members are top stars, you would think that they would keep up with the latest trends, right? Wrong. Apparently, Jin did not know what Instagram is. Even though the rest of her members were actively using it. She finally made her own Instagram back in June of 2019, to which we'd say, that's pretty late to be joining the party. Oh, and here is a big fun fact that my researcher J wrote in our research notes. Again, good job. Along with their level of fame often comes hate. Unfortunately. And Fin.K.L was no exception to this. However, their encounters with anti-fans actually led to some funny incidents. So let's go take a look at the story, shall we?
Let's go!
Now, time for the actual story. On an episode of Healing Camp from April 20th, 2015, Yuri revealed the group's revenge incident that became memorable to one of their anti-fans. Geez, my finger joints. How many quotation marks was that already? Anyway, one day, outside a hair salon, a female student had given the Fin.K.L members a gift, which was disguised as a fan letter, containing a photo of the members with their eyes drilled out, among other things. Except, we'd say this fan chose a very wrong time, as this was when Fin.K.L members were particularly and extremely fed up with anti-fans. Surely enough, the members were particularly and extremely mad once they discovered what was inside this fan letter. The members' instinct told them that the student would still be waiting outside the hair salon, so they told their manager to drive them back there. As they had foreseen, with their outrage, the student was still where they had found her. And with an angelic voice, they invited her to hop into their van, and that student accepted the offer. If that doesn't make sense to you guys, we're on the same boat here, since we also don't understand why that student even got into the van, if she was an anti-fan. According to Yuri, the student probably hadn't realized that the members had opened her fake present and naively got into their van. That still doesn't make much sense to us. Well, anyway, almost immediately, the members' attitudes changed from kind to scary unease, and the interrogation began. R.I.P. RIP. They asked her what school she went to and called her homeroom teacher on the spot, and received an apology on behalf of the student. I probably would have wanted to hang up on that call. ASAP. After this particular incident, their anti-fans supposedly became less active than before. Finally, many years later, one of Yuri's stylists randomly asked her if by any chance she had made a girl hop into their van when she was promoting as Fin.K.L. Apparently, that one anti-fan happened to be a friend of the stylist. Wow, small world. In a happy turn of events, the anti-fan had asked the stylist to convey another apology to Yuri. I guess Fin.K.L really left that anti-fan a long-lasting memory. Interestingly, but not surprisingly, this isn't the only time where Fin.K.L got revenge on one of their anti-fans. During an episode of Happy Together that aired on October 28th, 2010, yes, that's 5 years before the first story was told, Jin revealed a similar story. The similar parts of the two stories were 1. The Fin.K.L members receiving a fan letter from an anti-fan, which the actual content was the polar opposite of what a typical fan letter would be. 2. The members becoming particularly and extremely mad. And 3. Circling around the neighborhood to capture that anti-fan into their van. Except this time, the members made the anti-fan write an apology letter to them. Outside on a hot summer day in Korea, while they were at an event. For sure, I do not want to do this outside on a hot summer day in Korea. Some of you might get triggered by the fact that Fin.K.L got their revenge on their anti-fans, but here is something to take note of. Some actions of anti-fans from the past, which we won't describe, can almost be seen as near criminal actions. That is, the kind of actions that a lot of first-generation idols had to put up with were quite absurd. It may sound funny for the third party to hear these kinds of unusual stories in hindsight, but we'd assume it for sure wasn't fun for the celebrities who had to and still have to put up with these actions. So, what my researcher J, and I want to say is, if you don't like a certain celebrity, just leave them alone and move on with your life. Seriously.
Auntie.
안티야 그냥 안티야. 진짜 안티야.
And there it is, our final episode on Fin.K.L. I definitely enjoyed these ones and I hope you did too. Today we covered the group's reunion, with an asterisk attached, the members' conflicts, with another asterisk attached, their fandom, and finally some funny stories to wrap it all up. They are definitely an iconic group that you wouldn't want to mess with, both on and off the stage, and I hope they'll continue to represent Fin.K.L for years to come. Of course, this is not the end of The History of K-pop Season 1.
Nope.
And of course, Fin.K.L is not the only first-generation K-pop girl group that we need to cover. We may have spoiled it a bit before, but in case you didn't know, in the next episode, we'll be starting our coverage of the legendary... how about this? Let's say we'll be starting off our next episode with a tongue twister. You guys know the drill though. Make sure you tune in next time to see what that's all about.
그러니까 다음에도 또 오래.
So, now's the time where we ask you some important questions. How would you deal with your own anti-fans if you had any? And did you ever expect to hear about a revenge story from K-pop idols? I mean, I certainly didn't expect to hear that. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and feel free to say whether we missed anything in today's video or if anything needs to be corrected. And please leave any questions you have throughout the season on any particular video in the series, as we are planning to have a special review or Q&A episode at the end of the season. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want to tune in next time, and remember to stay awkward. Bye!